Hello everybody. So this is the next video that I want to put out to talk about what has been happening. If you watched the first one, thank you so much. I really just wanted everybody to understand what what kickstarted, I think, some of this stuff last year as maybe the best way, although it probably started way before that even. And I know that what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit strange, especially if you're not a follower of Jesus, if you don't have, I guess, the knowledge that these things are possible, which I didn't. When this stuff started happening to me, I was very confused because I grew up in a church where I didn't hear a lot about the Holy Spirit. I didn't, like, it was, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? Yes. Do you believe that he died for your sins and that he was resurrected 3 days later? Yes. The things that I was taught and I came to know, I've repented, and that was how I was taught religion. And what I've experienced in the last year has nothing to do with the religion that I experienced and that I was taught. In fact, some of the stuff that has happened has been so strange to me that I haven't even been able to find the words until much later. Like, I experienced something and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that. And then weeks or months later, I come across something that puts it into words that I'm like, oh, I'm not the first person to experience that. I'm not the only person who's ever had that happen to them. And it's reassuring. It does help because, man, when you don't have that context and you don't know that these things are possible and they start happening, you really feel like you're gonna lose your mind. Like, it's a little, it is outside of what you would normally expect in the realm of possibility, right? And so you start to doubt and you're like, is my mind like making this stuff up? But thankfully he does give me confirmation later that what I'm experiencing is not the only time this has ever happened to people. In fact, it seems to have happened quite a lot. So I thank him for that, and I praise him for the help that he gives me on this journey because it's confusing sometimes. So today I'm going to be sharing visions that I've had. And I have to call them visions because there's actually a very clear mental picture of what these things were. And before I go into those, I just want to say that if you've never heard of something called aphantasia, it describes the way that different people see images in their mind, right? So some people can call up an image, like if I say apple, right? Some people can call up a very clear image of an apple. It's very detailed. It's very, like, you can see everything around it. It's super clear, like you're looking at a TV screen. And then there's different kind of phases. Like, some people will have it just a little bit fuzzy and you won't have quite as much detail. And then it's on this scale where eventually some people actually do not have the ability to call images up in their mind. It just doesn't exist for them. So everybody's kind of on that scale somewhere, just generally speaking. And I am somewhere near I almost can't see things most of the time. It makes me a terrible artist when I try to draw. There's only one thing I've ever been able to draw consistently, and it's the tree, which is a totally different thing we could talk about later. But I have aphantasia, like the I can't envision anything. Almost. Like, it's not completely gone. I just get very, very fuzzy, vague impressions of the thing that I'm trying to call up. And the reason that I call these visions and why they are so different and why I know they're not from myself and my own imagination is because I couldn't come up with that in my head if I tried. And even now, like, when I think about them, they're still super clear in my mind. I can still see them in a way that I've never been able to do with anything in my mind. So these definitely stand out as something different and not my normal self. So I just want to throw that out there before we get started. The first vision that I had was probably, I don't know, a couple weeks after the mental and emotional, the spiritual healing that I experienced at the end of October. I had been praying with someone the night before, and I think I was still actually in the midst of praying, but I was like doing dishes or something at the same time. I don't know, I was kind of multitasking. And I had this clear image of, so I'm standing on a rock, like raised up a good distance from the ground, like I'm on a hillside, on the side of a mountain, looking out across a desert plain. And in the backdrop, like and I'm sorry, I can't use this arm today. I woke up with a very severe pain in my arm. I think it's maybe just a distraction because I decided to post my first video this morning, and I've been in a lot of pain ever since, but I can't use this arm. So if you see me talking a lot with this hand, it's because this one's not working. But in my vision, so I'm up on this mountainside, and on the right side of where I can see in my field of vision, there's kind of some more mountain or a wall of, I don't know, a crevice, something it raises up on that side. And then off in the distance, way out in front, on the other side of this desert, is another kind of chain of mountains that I can see. And as I'm looking out and standing up on this kind of rocky space, I saw the biggest, like widest bolt of lightning that you can imagine. And in the context of it, in order, like, because I was looking at like far away on this stuff, so the scale and the width of this thing would have been like almost like a massive tornado size, like miles wide, bolt of lightning that hit the ground with such impact. Like I could feel it, like everything shook, and out rolling away from where this lightning hit the ground were these kind of concentric rings. I can't lift that hand. I really want to use my hand to describe this. But it kind of struck the ground, and like rings of water, like when something gets dropped in water, it gets the rings that kind of expand outward. It was like that, but it was like dust and debris and the sand of the ground that rolled out in every direction. And I had this very distinct feeling, and I'm gonna just pull up my journals, because I have so many of like things that I've been writing down in the past year. So it said, I felt the strength and awesome power of God that was given to us through Jesus, and I saw a bolt of lightning strike the ground, and waves of air, dust, and debris from its impact rolling away in all directions across the land. I sensed very strongly that my faith and skills, joined with those of others, was sending out a ripple of his power and glory across the land. And so I had this very strong sense that I was not alone. Like what was happening to me is happening to a lot of people, and that he is kind of calling a whole bunch of people into this plan that is going to impact the whole earth. I mean, the size of this bolt of lightning is undescribable. Like if you think of an image of like the widest tornado you've ever seen on the ground, right? Like off in the distance, it might do justice to it. It had to be miles wide. And the power of it was just immense. And I remember being very happy when I saw this, because I was like, oh man, like he's at work in a big way, right? Like it's not just me. Like he's gonna touch everything. He's touching hearts all over, and amen, hallelujah, like let it happen. And so I kind of just, I think I shared it with a couple people at the time, my husband and maybe a friend or two, but I was like, that was weird. Like I've never had a vision before, and I didn't know what to do with it, because I was like, okay, like people are gonna think I'm nuts if I start talking about this stuff, but okay, like I'll just keep it to myself. And but that was not the last time. In fact, I've had multiple visions since then. So the next one that I had, let's see, that was like mid-November. The next one I had was January 2nd. And this one, I don't know how to describe this one. So I'll just read a little bit. So it said, this morning, as I was thinking about what the full armor of God means, I had another vision. If you can imagine a strange combo of lighting the beacons of Gondor across the mountaintops in Lord of the Rings, and the moment in X-Men movies where like Professor X is trying to find mutants, and so he's in Cerebro, and you can see like the silhouettes of people and mutants. I know this is a terrible analogy for visions from God, but this is the best I can do to explain it. And I envisioned that it was sort of like this other realm of existence where people were just outlines of themselves, and as I stood there, my body was flooded with white brilliant light, and some of the other people around me were also lighting up with this holy light. The message was similar to the other vision I had. You are not alone, you're part of a bigger plan. And twice now, the only visions I've ever had told me the same. God's power is at work, and I was filled with joy and awe. And since then, I've come to almost recognize or sense who some of these beacons are. Like, it's almost like I can feel them. This is gonna sound so bonkers. Y'all are gonna throw me in an house. It's like when I'm praying, I know that my prayers and their prayers are the same, and that we are all praying for revival and awakening, and for God's power to just roll across the earth, for people to wake up and to hear his call, which is, it feels so loud right now. It's like it permeates everything, and there is awakening happening around the world, not just here in the US, but all over the place. And so I can sense it, I can feel it, I know that I'm a part of it, and it's so beautiful. And like sometimes when I'm praying, like the hairs on my arm will stand up, because it's like almost like my prayer is just connected directly to their prayer, and they are all being just sent up to heaven, together, and that they're being heard and they're being answered. And it is the most amazing experience in that. And I had interpreted both of those as like there's a great awakening happening, like God is moving in the world, and it made me very happy. And I was sharing out this message to more people at that point of like, God's working on stuff, right? Like his hand is moving and people are waking up. This is really exciting, right? And then I had a different kind of vision, and it was after he showed me a gift that he has given me, which we'd have to do a whole other video on gifting, but in this battle vision, right, and I call it a battle vision because that's what it was. I was standing again on that same location where I had been when the lightning strike happened. I can still see that desert and the mountain and things like that in the back. But this time, it was looking out over a massive battle. You can tell where my attention has been in the past, because I only have strange like modern movie references for stuff. Sort of like the the battle from, I don't know, what's a big battle that we've got? Like, so Avengers Endgame. I don't know if I like that analogy the end game, but there's that big battle that they have with all the people at the same time, and it's super chaotic and like whatever. There's just people everywhere fighting, and that's what it looked like looking out over this battlefield. And I was standing on that rock again next to Jesus, and I had on armor that was bright white, like the souls that had been lighting up in that vision with the beacons of the people who were like lighting up off into the distance. It was bright like that. And I had a really long sword in my hand, which was pretty cool. Y'all are going to accuse me of having an active imagination, but I tell you, this one scared the crap out of me. And as I stood there with him looking out across this battlefield, I felt his wrath building, not just in himself, but in me. And I'm not really an angry person, you know, like I don't get angry that much, but I felt overwhelming wrath looking down across this battlefield, and I was ready to fight. I was like, send me in, like I'll go and I'll fight for you. And when this vision ended, and this was longer than the other ones were very, very brief, like just seconds long, and this one was a little bit longer than that. And when I kind of left the vision, I sat up, and I had to stand up, and I went to the bathroom, and I was shaking from head to toe, because like in my vision I was not afraid, you know. I was just like, I felt his power, and I felt his presence, and I felt his anger, and I was angry with him and for him, and I was like, send me in, let's do this. But when it ended, I was terrified of what I had seen. It was horrible, like battle and fighting, and the fact that I was feeling his anger and his wrath was really unnerving. I didn't really know what to do with that. So that was the third vision that I had. And to me, that vision was one of, like, God's judgment is coming, right? Like the battle, he's about to step into the fight, right? He's looking, he sees, he's angry about what he sees, and he's ready to move into this fight. And he's ready to send people on his behalf in a very powerful way. And so this was the first vision where I felt like it wasn't just all sunshine and roses, right? It's not like, hey, cool, we're going to have a great awakening and people are going to come to God and Jesus and it's going to be wonderful. No, this one was more like, I'm watching and I'm not happy about what I see. And from there, I don't have the exact day of this one. I think I kind of skimmed over it, but I had a quick vision one day of like the tree of life, but it was twisted up like it had been wrung out like a dishcloth. And ironically, one of our friends in Tennessee has a band that has a logo for their band, which is a massive lightning strike and a twisted tree, which I find mind-blowing. And the name of the band is reflective. I'm not going to throw it out there because I don't want to put you guys in the spotlight here, but is reflective of biblical references. Okay, so I guess that's all I'm going to say. And so I started wondering, when I saw that vision of this tree that had, like, I was standing and it was really, really big, and it was overgrowing its branches out over across me, and it was like the size of like a redwood tree, you know, in California. It was enormous, but it was twisted up like it had been just stretched and wrung out like a towel. And I took it as like it had reached maturity, I guess, was what I saw. Like it was a tree that had reached maturity, that the fruit had been harvested or was being harvested, you know, like it was like at its end of life. It was mature as it was ever going to be, I guess is the best way to put it. And I didn't think much about that one. I just thought okay, like I draw trees and stuff all the time, and I understand what that means to me, and like this is an interesting vision. Like, okay, like the tree of life has reached maturity, and I didn't think any more about it. And then the most recent vision that I had started to question how I was interpreting these things, because like I said, I've not read the Bible nearly enough to have the understanding of some of the things that I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing. And so I started looking in the Bible for, like, are these things mentioned anywhere? Am I misunderstanding what I'm being shown? And the twisted tree was one that really got me. So in Psalm 29, verse 7, it says, and this one blew my mind when I found it. This was maybe a month or two ago when I found this verse, well after I had these visions. It said, the voice of the Lord strikes with flashes of lightning. The voice of the Lord shakes the desert. The Lord shakes the desert of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists the oaks and strips the forests bare, and in his temple all cry glory. And when I read those lines, I was like, wow, that's really weirdly aligned with some of this stuff that I've been seeing in these visions. And so I had never, I didn't know what the desert of Kadesh was, and so I did a little more looking into that, and that is where Moses and the Israelites who had been taken out of Egypt were at for most of their, most people think from like 38 of the 40 years that they were in the desert and in the wilderness, like they were in this desert of Kadesh area. And so I looked it up, and man, on Wikipedia there was a picture of this place, this desert. I don't know if it's a real picture or a drawing, I'm not sure, but that image could have, like, if the perspective of it was off, it was like if you were in the image that is of the desert of Kadesh on that Wikipedia page, but I was farther up on the side of the mountain, not in the valley that's looking into this desert area, but up on the side of the hill on the rocks looking down into it, that could very easily be exactly where my vision took place of the battle and of the lightning that struck the ground. And man, every hair on my neck and my arms and my body stood on end. I mean, probably not the hair here, but it was a really bizarre moment to see that picture. And I was like, am I having visions that are in a real place? Maybe. I don't know. But those lines were very interesting to find after I had those visions. And so then I was wondering, and I'm like, okay, well, the desert of Kadesh is kind of remembered or known for, like, they had been disobedient to God, but he still provided for them, and he was still with them and loved them. And so I don't know, I still wasn't reaching any conclusion of, like, I don't know, am I having end time visions, or like what exactly is he trying to tell me? I don't understand. And then I had the most recent vision, and it has made me question whether or not I have fully understood what I've been shown before. So this last one, let's see if I can pull this up. So yeah, so this vision was, like I said, a little bit less clear even than the others. So what day was this? This was June 16th. I saw a great cloud of fog and the top of a mountain rising above it into the sun. Around the peak of the mountain right? So my view is like I can see this fog layer, and I'm looking straight ahead at a mountain that's up into the sun. And around the peak of the mountain was a ring of eyes floating in the air, rotating slowly in a circle around the mountain. They were looking outward over the fog. So, right, so imagine, I mean, literally, like just eyeballs. It's very strange. In a ring, you know, so like they're spaced out around the top of this mountain, and it's just slowly circling, kind of looking in every direction out from the mountain. And I had the sense that even though there was fog and cloud cover, that the eyes still could see what they were looking for. And then, so if I keep reading, it says, it was such a strange image. I stayed in prayer thinking about what it could mean. And as I contemplated, I think I had a second or maybe a continuation of the first vision. In my field of vision, I saw cracks appear, like breaking glass on a windshield, splintering and branching out like lightning. It felt very, like I was very close to the glass, like I had my face pressed up to a window pane, and it had suddenly cracked across my field of vision. And I had a sense that this was like the sky was cracking. That I sometimes hear people say of Jesus's return. And even though I don't fully know what to take from this vision, I definitely had the sense that like the mountain was the mountain of God, maybe Mount Horeb, I don't know. The eyes, maybe the angel of the Lord, or God's presence, or something that represents him being able to see into the world and watch. And the cracking of the glass, that's the part that really unnerved me, because I was like, is the end near? Like, is God's power coming to the earth in a powerful way that will send ripples in and across the land? Are there people who are lighting up and waking up in preparation for that final coming? Is the tree twisted, and in judgment or in maturity, like it's as old as it's ever going to get? Is Jesus literally standing at the edge of the battlefield, waiting to step in and fight and take over and take his rightful place? Maybe I was misunderstanding what I was seeing. The last vision was very strange. It changed how I was thinking about some of these. So, having said all of that, I hope that you won't call the psych ward immediately. I had never experienced anything like this before. It's very odd to have something that is not your own, right? It's not my imagination thinking these things up. There was no precursor of like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if, like, they just happened, they just came. And I still see them very clearly in my mind, even though I can't see things like that. I can't recall images in my mind, but these I can see them. So I don't know what it means. I feel like there's so many now and so much that, and he's telling me, like, I haven't given you this stuff to keep it to yourself. Like, you need to share it. You need to put it out there. And, whether you're ridiculed or persecuted or whatever, like, it doesn't matter what people think. It only matters what I think and what I need from you. And so here's another video. Lord, do with it what you will. I will be obedient. I will do what you're asking. But I love you all, and I am confused sometimes by what I see in these things. Like I said, I don't have nearly enough experience in reading the Bible and understanding the stuff that I see. sometimes I think I miss it. Like he's trying to show me something and I'm like, I don't get it. I need more directions, please. Could you just send me a text message? You know, like it would be so much easier if he could just like just give me a quick text like, hey Misty, this is what this one means and I want you to share this with so and so. That'd be super helpful, but he doesn't really work like that. He just leads us, I think, to a place where we still have the decision to make about whether or not we're going to embrace what he's showing us, whether or not we're going to share it with others. I'm not going to try to sway anybody one way or the other about how to interpret these things. Maybe there's plenty of stuff, I'm sure, in them that I don't know and don't see. But that is it. That is my video on the visions that I've had so far. I have had dreams that are also very interesting. I have experienced an awakening of gifts that I didn't know were possible. Like I said, I have no context for this stuff. I have no baseline. It just happens, and then I find out, like, oh yeah, this is a thing that God does, and I'm like, good to know. Okay. I trust you, Lord. I trust you. Don't lead me astray. But I thank you all for watching, for listening, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. And I don't know what'll be in the next video, whatever he leads me to talk about next of what I've been experiencing and seeing, I guess. But it's out there now. Like I said, I'm not editing these. This is a long video, longer than it probably needed to be, but I can't be editing. I don't even have time. Like, I don't feel like I have time to properly, let me put all this in a logical explanation that people can see. There's no time. I feel an urgency to share these things, and I can't ignore it anymore. So, I love you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.